Hey there, I haven't made a video in a while and I wanted to come and just give an update on what's happening. I am 12 weeks post chemo, and the first 3 weeks following that, well, the week of chemo, the week after, and the week after that, which would be a 3-week period, is what I would consider my cycle. And so that cycle ended basically on Christmas. And the following week, I was in the hospital with a fever, which, everything was okay. And I'm really glad that that was the case. But when your body fights a virus or a bacteria, you lose white blood cells, die in that process, some of the white blood cells. And so my white blood cell dropped to 1, which was a little concerning for my doctor and concerning for me. But it was a few weeks later that I just felt a distinct change. Like I just started waking up feeling better. And I knew that that had turned. And so now it's actually March 1st. And I'm in the 12th week after my last day of chemo, and I'll tell you that I'm a lot stronger and a lot clearer than I was during chemo, but I still have a long way to go. And there's like an illusion of feeling really good, and the illusion comes from I have nothing to compare it to. I can compare how I feel now to how I felt during chemo, but to compare now after chemo to before diagnosis, I was overworked. I was doing a lot. I was very active. During chemo, I wasn't active. Not really. I did a little bit. I tried to walk, and it was really hard to walk sometimes, and I skipped some days, a lot of days. I started off walking a certain distance, and that just cut down really quickly. As the chemo certainly when the chemo got stronger, my walks went like to about half of what they were in the beginning. But now, definitely my body is stronger, but when I go and do things, I find that there's a lot of weakness, or I'll sweat really easily. My legs are still very weak. My arms are weak, and I can see that in my grip strength. So trying to open a coffee bag is almost impossible. It's really, really hard. And I know coffee bags are hard to open anyway, but this is like another level. It's like I just can't hold on to it. I just can't hold on to that small thing like that pinching grasp. And Ziplocs, especially the ones that food packages come with, some of those are really hard even when your hands are strong. But the ones that do line up and close well, I have to it takes so much effort to squeeze. It's like the only thing I compare it to, and this is my legs and my arms in this case. If you've ever done a lot of exercise or worked out and your body's already weak, and then you try to do some normal activity after exhausting those muscles, it's like I get that exhausted that quickly. And that's been, I'm not going to say frustrating, because I'm accepting the fact that there's a healing process here, but I will say that it's been surprising, and it's been the most long-lasting issue. There's still some digestive stuff, but it's a lot better because my diet is way better. I can tell you that my diet is far better now than it was before diagnosis, and for a long time before diagnosis. I had the pandemic diet for a little bit there. I had sort of a crazy extreme diet before that, testing out something. And I just came to the conclusion that I'm somebody who likes to do extreme things sometimes, and diet would be one of those. I mean, I've done a vegan diet. I've done almost an all-fruit diet. I've done an all-raw for a little while. And I did very much a meat diet. So I've been all over the place trying different things over the years. And I just, somewhere amidst all the chemo, I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to stop doing that. And I've done enough testing. And, I don't have any reason to think that I had anything to do with cancer. I really don't think it did. Do I think that diet is a factor? Absolutely. Yes. Is it the only factor? No way. Not a chance. There's so many possibilities for people and how cancer is formed and why it's formed, So maybe I'll talk about that later. So the weakness is one of the most noticeable things in digestion. So where I noticed it with digestion, in the world of Chinese medicine, I would be diagnosed with constipation before going into the hospital and getting diagnosed with cancer. Western diagnosis of constipation is like going several days without a bowel movement, but in Chinese medicine we would diagnose constipation even if it's just slow. And so that's kind of where I was going in. And then chemo, it like puts the brakes on for the movement of the digestive system. And it causes a lot of abdominal discomfort for a lot of people. And acid reflux is a major issue for people. People who have never had acid reflux will have acid reflux during chemo a lot of times. And I took herbs to help with that the whole way through, to keep the motility and also to deal with the acid reflux. And I also took omeprazole to deal with the acid reflux. Happy to say I am no longer taking omeprazole, and I am no longer taking herbs for acid reflux. I do sometimes still take something for the motility, the movement of the intestines, but during chemo I was taking something daily, and there were times when I took it more than once daily, 2 to 3 times. And now it's like kind of seeing how I'm doing and then taking it accordingly. So I might go a couple days without it and then maybe take 1 dose. You might be wondering what my diet is. So I eat a lot of greens still, and I'm doing bone broth pretty regularly. And the reason for those two is the greens give you the nutrients to build blood. A lot of iron, there's a lot of calcium, and there's a lot of vitamin C actually in greens. It's a good fiber. Chlorophyll helps your body create blood and build blood. And then bone broth, you're getting the minerals from bone, and then you're also getting the marrow, because you want to use marrow bones in that. And the marrow is where your body produces blood. Hematopoiesis. Big words. Big words. So my brain's working. That's good. So that's 2 things that I'm doing regularly. I would say that on any given day, I'm going to eat rice or quinoa 1 to 2 times. I'm going to have greens 2 times usually. And then I just kind of have the bone broth like tea. For some reason, like soups are just like not that interesting. I'm starting to kind of think about soups, but mostly I'm steaming everything. And then I will say, I'm not a person who can transform my diet overnight. I am not that person, and I know that. And during chemo, the challenge was nausea and flavors and tastes, and just I had some mouth issues, and swallowing was hard, acid reflux, and I just ate what tasted good and didn't make me feel bad. And sometimes that was good food, and there was times when that was French fries, and there was some ice cream, and some foods that are not healthy, but it's I got through. It was just like getting through, really. And now, after the fact, I have really reduced my sugar intake, and I do have some cravings for sweet things. And I was eating a little bit of sugar there for a little while, but just in the last maybe 2 weeks, I'd say, I really got my sugar down to pretty much 0. And I do eat fruit, so there's sugar there. But as far as sweet things like desserts and candy and stuff, I'm finding replacements and just eating a lot less of it. So the quantity of those sweet flavors is way down, and then I'm replacing the sweet flavors with things that don't have sugar. And I am not using chemical sweeteners. I swore those off many years ago, and I'm not going to go back to that now, because actually there's so many options. These days we have stevia, xylitol, erythritol, monk fruit. There's a lot of natural options, and erythritol is not natural, and xylitol is processed. And I'm taking into account that, there's a possibility, and I'll have to do more research on this, that sugar is something that, if there are cancer cells, that affects them. And we know that because when you get a PET scan, what they put in your veins is radioactive glucose. Because the tumor cells take that up so quickly. They process it differently than normal cells, but they do take it up. And that's been known for a long time. So when they say sugar doesn't affect tumors, there's no proof. Oh, yeah. Not in any American studies. Well, it's European studies. So anyway, there's that. Okay, so diet, sugar. So the keto-friendly thing is really helpful right now. Keto is like the hot diet right now. I'm finding products that have never said keto before. But when it says keto, I know that it shouldn't have sugar in it. So then I'm finding stuff that's sweetened with stevia, monk fruit, erythritol. I don't know what happened to xylitol. Xylitol used to be on the store shelves in like Publix and that, and now it's erythritol and allulose. So I guess they're the hot new things. What else is happening? Okay, with my body, any weird things? Yes, I cannot sleep. My sleep was not great before, but I had an excuse. I was overworked and stressed out. During chemo, it was a little wonky, where some weeks I would not sleep good. And then the week that I got chemo, it did something to me. There was a benefit to chemo, and there was a benefit to Benadryl, in that I could sleep. Somehow it sedated me. And then the second week, I had a lot of pain in my cycle. Second week of the cycle, I had a lot of pain, and I took the last three cycles. I took I can't remember what it's called now. Oh, Percocet. And then the third week, I would have sleep problems again, and then I'd get chemo again, and it would kind of sedate me, and it had a sedative effect on me. And then the following week, I would have Percocet. The Percocet didn't really make me sleep; it just took pain away. But the pain was what was keeping me awake on some of those nights, and so then it was hit or miss that second week. So sleep has been an issue. I'm trying some different things for that. I went with melatonin for a little bit, which will help me fall asleep and sleep for a while, but I don't stay asleep. I still wake up, and I have to take it again. Through that process, I learned that melatonin has an anti-cancer effect. Well, how about that? Well, the fact that I can't sleep would mean my melatonin is off, and so is that a factor in the development of cancer? Possibly. I did say at the beginning of this video that there's a lot of factors. Second thing, I have tried CBD. CBD really helps my nervous system, and in my view, it's a fix. It's not a resolution, because it's something that I need to keep taking, and it does not resolve the problem. And the third thing is THC, legal, of course. That does help me sleep, and I also think that is a fix. Hi.
Hi.
What you doing? I'll ask you some questions in a minute.
I'm back here to do the video.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be with you in just a second. Yeah, THC, just trying to figure out like the right dosing, the best dosing, and there's a part of me that's like, some days I just don't want to take that. I don't want to rely on anything. And I have to remind myself, like, okay, let's just do this for a while we figure out the details, like why the body isn't sleeping, right? Some nights I do have pain, and that's not chemo pain. That's just an old back pain that I've had for a long time, so I'm working on that by stretching. I'm stretching. That's how I deal with that. And sometimes I just wake up and then my mind is busy. And so when I take the THC, I take a little bit and then I wait a couple hours. I eat it, so it takes a long time. It takes 2 hours to take effect. And then 2 hours later, I take a little bit more. And then that is kind of like I'm going to sleep through the night if I do that, as long as I don't drink a bunch of water and have to get up to urinate. Is there anything else? Okay, physical. Okay, so yeah, I guess if we look at mental, emotional, there's something that happened when I was a kid in middle school. This kid used to bully me every day. And I didn't really, take a look at that until maybe 6 years ago. I've done a lot of introspective work over the last 16 years. And at some point, this experience of being bullied came up, and somebody coached me just a little bit. It wasn't really like an official coach. And I got a little room, around that. And then I had so many other things I wanted to do and like create and do in my life. And I just sort of set some of those things aside. There are lots of events that happen in life that, we can go and look at. But that one was pretty significant. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, not a big deal. And then after having kids, I was like, this came up again. So I got official coaching, and it was really good, really juicy coaching. Thank you, Brandy Becker. And I realized something out of that coaching, and I was able to like really move something. And now I'm working with somebody else more from a spiritual and emotional access point than mental to emotional. That is still a thing. And I know I'm going to release it. I know I'm going to transform it. And I think that there's just some juicy little nugget that I still have to get. You know what I mean? Like, aha. And that is when it will be done. We're so close. Okay, so mental, so physical, okay, got that. Mental, emotional, I have a really good outlook. I still have some fears about, remission and what do you call it when it comes back? That's probably good that I don't have that word in my head. But anyway, recurrence, that's not the word, but whatever. Of course, that's there. And I don't have a lot of other things going on. I still have my port. I have had some interesting thoughts about like wow, I miss going to the clinic. I'm like, I don't miss chemo, not one bit. But there was something about going to the clinic. So I sat with that and looked at it and thought, but like, what was it about going to the clinic that I would miss? And it was being cared for. And I thought, is that really it? And then I shared about that in the lymphoma group that I'm part of on Facebook. And so many people were like, I had the same experience. And one lady said, I had a nurse tell me that getting diagnosed and starting on the journey of chemo and the end, like the letdown, are equally impactful on the patient. And I was like, that's really interesting. Like things that you would think like, why would you could never tell anybody? Can you really imagine people being like, I miss going to that clinic and getting my blood drawn every week and weighing in and talking to my doctor or the nurses? Like inside of cancer and chemo, how does that sound? Sounds like a lunatic, right? Well, if you're watching this and you're having that experience, you are not a lunatic. There is something about having people just care for you in an obvious way that is nice. And of course we would miss that. And it's not like I don't have people that care for me. I'm married an occupational therapist. Good God. She's a caretaker all the way, and she's been wonderful. And it woke me up to some stuff. So that's part of the mental emotion. That was a surprise. That was a surprise. I'm just now at 12 weeks. Well, it was like 11 weeks last week. I started thinking like, I really want to see people. I really want to see my friends. I really want to be social. So that has started, and I'm really happy to say that that's happening, because it just provides energy for me to be around people that I like and love and enjoy being around. And I did see people. I saw my family members, but during chemo, I didn't feel good. And so even though seeing them, I really loved it. I remember going to lunch with my parents. We went to Jimmy John's, I think. I really don't do well with gluten, but I just really wanted a sandwich. Like for a couple weeks there, right at the beginning, I was craving like sub sandwiches with that good bread, that good yummy sub sandwich bread. And that was really nice to see them and, not feel, it was just really good to see them. So spiritual, I'm getting these pings like time to meditate. Hey, Tara, like as if my angel was tapping me and saying, you need to meditate, time to meditate. And some intuition is developing in a new way. And I suppose that's something. Okay, can you hold on a minute?
Yeah.
Is it running around?
No.
Is it staying still?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm almost done. I want to come see it.
Okay.
Is it alive?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll go see. So the spiritual side, there's still lots going on there, lots of good stuff. And I would say all in all, things are going really well. Oh, there's more, like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual is all, the human person, right? But then there's also these other things that affect somebody who's going through any kind of illness. And that's finances and relationships are affected too, but mine, I would say, have been really good. Finances, I was really worried for a little bit there, and I just had to keep like praying and saying, okay, I'm giving it over to you, God, I'm giving it over to you. And it was hard. I had a lot of anxiety, and I was like, I feel like when I give it over, I'm supposed to give my anxiety over to you, and I really want to, and I want to let that go, and it's just really hard. It's just really hard to let go of like, oh my God, in a month and a half, we might not be able to pay rent. We just completed our taxes, and we're going to get a decent return, so that's a cushion. And disability might, I might know by March. And we started the process at the very beginning of September, and it takes 6 months. 6 months.
Can you come see now?
Really, just the treatment of chemo should be enough. That disability gives you some of your tax money back. I feel like disability should not take so long for somebody in a situation like this. And we've been super duper crazy blessed. It couldn't have gone, I don't think it could have gone any better. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I love you. May your life be wonderful.